Still a Tigress here, joined once again by Meta Pusher, this time with Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, how you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, feeling good?
I'm feeling good.
Ready for this last set?
I'm excited to see this. I've been waiting all day for this.
Yeah, Renegades and Mousesports, and I know Renegades has been waiting all day for this as well, when you have to kind of keep yourself there. So one thing to look at specifically for Renegades, Meta Pusher, how is that when you know you're not playing until the end of the day, but you got to keep yourself mentally sharp?
I think it's actually a good advantage for them because they get to watch all these matches from today and see what are you doing, see what North America's doing, see how it's not working against the European teams, and then learn from that.
What about you with player experience yourself, obviously?
I mean, the thing is, like, these people probably woke up like really early, and these are gamers, so they're probably not on the best sleep schedule at home. So they're probably getting pretty tired, you know? So you have to count in the exhaustion factor on top of that.
The travel, it being day 3 of a LAN, that really has an impact on it. But taking a look specifically once more at Renegades and just the lineup that they have available, been a little bit of time since we've seen them here on the broadcast, a combination of some older talent that we've seen before, some even coming out of retirement. What are your general thoughts on this lineup?
They're explosive. That's really it. ShadeeyShades is a really, really consistent player, but Lokii is the one who is just going to go off sometimes and just roll your team over. And that's a really good combo to have when you're 2 damages.
What about you, Mr. Hayes?
You have no idea what Renegades is going to do. Like, Shades, when he plays Leon, he'll be really far back, and he'll just be playing super safe, and then the next thing you know, he's just behind your team and he kills you. Like, I don't understand how he does it, but it's so clean.
Just teleporting right out.
Yeah.
Surprise, everybody.
Those big imminent shots, he hits you for like 1,200 across the map, and you're just like, oh, I'm dead.
Ah, man. Well, but with that, at least you come back to life, right, eventually. So with that explosive factor and just some of the stuff that we've seen, whether it be NA or EU and the different strategies, Meta Pusher, what are some of the priorities that may come out of Renegades?
Obviously, the Leon is going to be a big thing. Mouse might be looking to ban that away. I don't think they could really pick it away from them because I really don't think they've ever ran the Leon. So if they don't ban it, the Leon's going to be a big pick. And then also Lokii. His Shaolin and his Androxus are both very, very strong. And when you put him on those, he's able to just completely dictate the pace of a game.
So, Mr. Hayes, do you believe that with the maps coming up, it's not going to be Bright Marsh or Splitstone Quarry, that Lokii would be somebody that you would look out for? Or is there another player on Renegades?
Lokii and Shades are both insane. You got to look out for both of them.
Their tanks are really good, too, and their tanks are seriously underrated. They perform really well and really consistently, and when they're performing at their best, they look untouchable.
Yeah, anyone at their best. You got to be looking out for that. But shifting over a little bit to Mousesports, and the bans that we do see there were Bright Marsh actually was very popular in the beginning, got banned away once before this, and now twice. Mr. Hayes, why do you think that is?
I think that Renegade's champ pool just isn't that great for Bright Marsh. They don't really play blasters, and a lot of their champ pool relies on things like Leon, Sha, things that are more range focused. And Bright Marsh is just such a closed map that I think they're going to have problems on that map.
That's actually been brought up as a consistent point with Renegades. If you're having that issue with the blasters, and some of them in interviews mentioned they had been working maybe a little bit to try and have it in if need be, but with Jaguar Falls being the first map here, Meta Pusher, do you think that there's a way for Mousesports to capitalize upon that deficiency?
Definitely. I'm honestly really surprised by the Jag pick. Like we said, they love their maps with their range, and Jag is it's one of their better small maps because specifically Lokii on the Androxus just does so much on there. But the Leon isn't so much of a valuable pick. So Mouse could definitely take advantage of this. I think this is probably a mistake in the map drafting process.
On the side of Mousesports and Bomb King being the first one locked away, Mr. Hayes, what strategies do you think they'll employ?
You're going to see Renegades ban Bomb King every game. It's not a pick that they feel comfortable on, and it's a pick that is very scary right now. And then Kowa coming out as well, it's just a very standard ban. Terminus is just such a strong pick on this map that you can't give up.
For sure, the ult is just so game-changing. It forces you to play differently with him and around his team. If he has that ult, you can't focus him and expend these cooldowns and abilities into him because he's just going to revive, and then the rest of the team's going to push into you, and you're going to be down.
So with Terminus being locked in on one side, do you expect, Mr. Hayes, for Ainara to maybe come in on the other?
Yes, for sure. We call them the immortal tanks because they just live for so long, and you can't let a team get both the immortals because then just no one dies, and especially if they have Damba.
It's so hard to chip through rock without something like a pickaxe, so
Yeah.
they tend to stick around for quite a bit. But a prioritization on tanks for their first 2 picks over here, Meta Pusher.
I like this a lot. Syer's Ruckus was absolutely insane in their match earlier against Kill to Heal. And his tracking is one of the best in the game. Even though he's coming back from a sort of a longer break, he's still got that level 24 Ruckus, all those hours put in, and the ability to just make a big difference.
Wow, I was about to say Fernando, but Buck is getting locked in, and then Grok, which 2 of these have been kind of flavors of the land. Buck making more of an appearance today than Grok with just a little bit in an earlier set. So, Mr. Hayes, what are your thoughts on those?
Well, the Grok's really good against their tanks because they don't have any shields. Anara's an easy target to hit, and then on top of it, Ruckus has a really big hitbox, so he's just a really easy bounce target. One thing that I think that you're going to expect from Renegades too is I'm going to look for probably a Nando for their second tank, because Kliku's Nando has just been amazing lately, and he's just been performing really well.
And Fernando doesn't seem to really be prioritized by as many, except for those that really excel in him. Pip and Maldamba.
That's a good combo. Having the 2 healers, and also, I mean, the fact that both of these 2 healers bring a lot of extra stuff beyond the healing. There's a lot of crowd control and a lot of really game-changing ultimates. But that is 2 champions that are very countered by late-game itemization, cauterizes, and resiliences.
We did see, actually, before when people were getting to tier 3 resilience, it really broke into that strategy that Fernando did just get locked in, and a second healer with Genos, too.
So one thing I want to say is Shades has been known for his Leon, but you can't count out his Buck. His Buck is amazing, too. And the Pip pick was mostly, it counters the Buck pretty well, honestly. Like, it counters the Buck.
It's one of the only things that
Right.
even comes close to countering the Buck.
Right, because they can't dive on you with the slow, the heals, the burst heals
The
especially.
lifesteal is the big thing with
The
the Pip for me.
lifesteal.
Yeah.
And Bucky's been really sticky.
One thing that I think Mouse wants to look for is to take away the Genos. Stormtroopey just plays an amazing Genos. He plays really safe while at the same time just putting out amazing damage. And so I think you got to take that away from him.
Well, looks like both of these comps are ready and rocking. 2 rock solid ones on each side. So, casters, why don't you go ahead and take it over?
Well, this draft looking pretty good. I think for both teams have a lot of different opportunities to succeed here. My name's Randy. That's Pretty Hair taking it in for the last set of the day, and it is Mousesports going on against Renegades. Kind of a forgotten team, Renegades. They were out relatively early, kind of like Fnatic, and then didn't have a chance to play until right now, the very end of day 3. What are you expecting out of this matchup?
I'm expecting them to play very carefully around this Bomb King because, like they mentioned on the desk, don't really have one in the tank, whereas Doodle is a very scary pick and a very scary player to run it. How they work around that and if and when they're able to pull out Drogoz is going to be a very big factor to look at going forward.
We'll have to see, too, because the big talking point here is Buck. Buck has been something that is warded off the Drogoz for EU teams. They have not been willing, as far as I've seen, to play Drogoz into a Buck on the opposite side. Too much respect. And if you're going to give respect to a Buck, ShadeeyShades from back in the day, you said you didn't see SK, Bitey, those guys run Buck. The only time they were is when Shades was on the team.
Same thing with Eevee. They've never really had those 2 voids filled
Nick,
after he left.
Shades isn't even playing Buck.
Uh-oh. It's Lokii.
Well, that's a surprise to everyone here. Even the analysts were talking about ShadeeyShades and his Buck, but Lokii is the one who gets it, and maybe this is because Loki's familiarity with the bulk up legendary over ShadeeyShades.
Yeah, not something we're familiar with, Lokii or ShadeeyShades being on Grok, but I think perhaps just ShadeeyShades being around longer, more comfortable with the Grok. I don't know. This is definitely a call that they had to think about. And how these drafts have evolved over the course of the LAN has been very interesting to see how different teams are dealing with it in different ways. It feels like everyone's trying to get a piece of that magic Virtus Pro created.
And I think Europe have been the closest to recreating it, that's for sure. Aside from Purity, who have made their own little spark of magic that everyone's been talking about. We'll see more of them tomorrow in the semifinals, so stay tuned for that. But ending out today, Mousesports have a chance to do the unthinkable. Not only find 1 win, but 2 wins in their PPL career and move themselves into a semifinals, a spot at HRX over SK Gaming. This is something that I think even looking at us would say this is unlikely.
I'll have one more team to get through to do it. Natus and Syer looking very strong in their own set. Everyone looking strong at this point in the tournament. There aren't many teams left as tomorrow will conclude. the Paladins World Championship Qualifiers. It's been a long ride. It's been a fun one. A lot of upsets.
Oh, yeah.
And interesting things to talk about. A lot of magic created, capturing both of these teams here, looking for their piece of the pie.
That guy right there, he's calm, he's collected, cool as ever. And he has been performing at top-notch levels.
I was watching him warm up actually in the warm-up area. He almost picked up a pentakill in his in his game. And NTBees, his teammate, happened to be on the enemy team in the casual game. And
Really?
Even though he was going to die for the pentakill, he just hooked him so that one of his teammates could get the kill on him, and he prevented his team. A little bit of fun.
Was this a buck that he was playing?
He was playing Shaolin, actually, Slashwhine. He has the Lin as well.
That seems to be something they've gone to. And, of course, the buck is what kind of stomped through Envy earlier on and allowed them to be in this position. And I think Mousesports are happy to continue to put their faith in Slashwhine. He seemed a very humble guy, seemed a very soft-spoken guy, but also a very focused, very execute-oriented guy. He just wants to get out there and get the job done, and so does ShadeeyShades, the man you're looking at right now. College, a lot on his plate, Nick, but he has jumped back into the Paladin scene after a long 6-month hiatus and just taken it by storm with this new squad.
I wonder how and why the decision was for him not to play the buck. I think you might be onto something with the Bulk Up Legendary there. It's a newer style of the character, and ShadeeyShades a very old school guy. And maybe that's why we're not seeing him go to that. If it's been ingrained, the play style, similar to Cassie. He's played Cassie the same way for so long, and so far we've only seen new school Cassie players like Syer be able to run it and have effectiveness on that.
And he's actually not a guy that I think has any ego to him. I think he's really willing to say, I don't know how to play that. I'm not that good at that. I know this, I know that. I was lucky to be here. Kind of the exact opposite you might see from G2, who kind of thrive off their egos. And you saw that actually hurt Renegades when they were going up against G2. They took them to a 5-game set, but at the end of the day, the yells, all of that stuff going on against Lokii, it just got in their head, and they couldn't get out.
It's an interesting point to look at how the Renegades have got here, what they've done, who they've defeated, and primarily the biggest storylines have been around G2 and now qualified for Worlds. This team is talked about amongst that caliber. They have what it takes to defeat teams that have already punched their ticket to the World Championship in January. So we know this bit of a surprise factor. They do things a little bit differently. I think what made them so strong and what allowed them to get this far was that they are an extremely new team, and nobody really knew how they functioned, similar to how Virtus Pro got so far on their own unique style. I think Renegades have that. They're on a different side of the coin compared to Virtus Pro, but just maybe that magic and that unfamiliarity with how they play and what they like could give them an edge here over Mousesports.
This is a Virtus Pro without an Elven path, and I think this is a Virtus Pro without those established veterans coming together and new faces. They do their own thing. They're on their own rhythm. They march to their own beat. But the one thing that everyone has been consistent about with this team is that they overperform. Not perform. They overperform expectations when the lights are on them. And I got to say, I see some lights shining right now.
And the strength of the draft is, frankly, unless Renegades draft well and do overperform, I personally think Mousesports can take this just because of the lack of a blaster player on the side of Renegades. That's been a very important factor to bringing down what I guess has been dubbed the immortal tanks of this land.
So I do want to mention this. There is not really a blaster aside from the Pip, which does serve a different role. Simsaloo, sure, he can make it work, but it's such a high execution threshold to play as well as he did and do that midfielder role I kind of like to throw it as. That I'm not sure Andzejdudel has that. We haven't seen that from him
I was
in
thinking
that
that.
capacity.
I was like, there's a lot of differences, but if Andzejdudel can just pretend those are Bomb King autos that he's hitting, maybe he'll do well on this pick, because this is not something we're used to seeing from him. He's gone the Catalyst route, which means he is going to be looking to duel around, and NTBees with this Tremor Zanara is another new thing brought to the table here that I don't know if Renegades are going to be prepared for.
You also have to look at Stormtroopey running the Luminary Genos right now. He may change to Celestial Touch, but at the moment, Stormtroopey has that locked in. You can say what you want about him. He's got a lot of funny tactics. He's a sweet guy. And at the end of the day, too, he knows this Genos better than almost anybody. This is his main healer, I would say, and a very comfort pick for him starting out in Game 1.
No Celestial Touch. I think the Renegades are going to be not necessarily starved for healing because they do bring the Grok alongside Cliku, looking to get back and involved in this backline, but he gets quickly turned on collapse, but a big fireball opens things up.
I don't think that's a problem. Cliku is going to be okay. Ethereall finds 2 kills, and this is Renegades pushing out to support the space, and this is what we didn't see from Splyce in their Fnatic matchup. They were fighting in their back half, and now Renegades are pushing the issue against Mousesports.
It's a valuable trade. Cliku gives his life up for 2, and good on the Renegades for using that time effectively. Ethereall able to find the killing blow on 2 members of Mousesports before having to fall back.
It was so important that he rounded that corner. You usually say, don't use your cooldown there. It's 15 seconds. But he had to get around that corner so he can get healed up when this fight started. And now he is starting still from halfway through. But if Grok is around, Shades might have a totem, and he can go head-to-head against the Sonara. The Maldama Gourd's going to be difficult to fight into, so that's why you see him holding on this dark room. However, now Cliku in the background yet again helps Ethereall to find a kill, and Stormtroopey this time getting into the action as the Tempest hits full blast.
It's already charged up and ready to rock and let rip. Ethereall finds Andzejdudel in the backline, who has been relatively silent. Big ol' Shatterfall coming through. Ethereall looking to make a statement.
Stormtroopey with 2 kills here. Finds the Void Grip as well. That guarantees the kill on Slashwhine and Renegades. Wow, they look very sharp. I say that's the word I throw out because visually they just look good. They haven't missed a beat, and I love what I'm seeing from Ethereall. The ult management, not the ult management, the ability management from him so far very nice. And ShadeeyShades, a 6 streak on this Grok, proving that it is valuable here.
I kind of want to take a quick peek as we see Seismic Crash come through on the top rope. It doesn't even net a kill just yet. Kliku's already got Immortal Charge. He's going to let that fly as well.
Look how much space he's buying. Look at how much time. Everyone forced on the Fernando, sure, but you're not looking at Lokii, and you're certainly not looking at ShadeeyShades. Ethereall finds 2, and this is Stormtroopey. He knows they're in the room. He's going to go for it. Can't quite find it. Didn't aim behind enough because it would have actually forced them to either go into the 2400 or start running towards ShadeeyShades and Ethereall, who are aggressing.
Definitely has the right idea, and those are the types of plays he's going to have to look to make if he wants through time and space raw. If there's no setup involved in it, he has to look for those types of leads.
And we can't forget Slashwhine, another perfect totem for this Grok to bounce off the shock pulse because of the fact that Planet just leaves him simply exposed and stationary. This is Renegades teaching a thing or two to Mousesports at this moment. Almost a full deicide. Nobody knew what they were going to bring out in game 1 in this set, heck, in this tournament. But so far, so good in the first round.
Let's bring up the damage charts here, and Slashwhine making a splash on Shaolin, but it is primarily the boys on the blue side of your screen making the big plays. There's a massive Shatterfall for first blood, and then quickly picks up the double kill and moves back to try and capitalize on what Cliku has been able to create. 20,000, he's in contention, frankly, for that top spot. Very close game in terms of damage, though.
Resilience. Let's talk about that, Nick. Evil Mojo, Explosive Flask, Impale Arrow, Warder's Field Slow, Dread Serpent from Maldamba. There's so many different things. The stun as well. All looking towards Renegades, and this is exactly what they're opting to itemize against as Terminus heads to the point. He's got the Reanimate available. He might look to use this here. Doesn't want to get burned down, and again, fighting on the Gourd. It's a scary proposition, but he's going to go into it, thrust the shield, and actually, that Shatterfall didn't get much from him.
Yeah, he's not getting very far out there. Cliku looking for a big fireball. He sees how stacked Mousesports are right now. Buck moving in. Lokii, this is a big commitment for him.
They're all in the room. Everyone's going down here. There's no way they're getting out of this. Now they're on the side of Renegades, and once more, Hi-Rez. Cliku will find one on the side, and Lokii here in the back. He just is capitalizing on what's already happened, showing up to the party 3 hours late and saying, hey, anybody here?
Okay, did a good job approaching that fight, but backing off, I think, wisely. Not full committing inside of the room. He leaped in, but had a quick decision to backpedal out, keeping himself alive. Renegades move up 3-0 with another dominant point fight on Jaguar Falls.
At this point, are we looking at draft, are we looking at play, Nick, or a little bit of both as to what's separating Renegades so far ahead of Mousesports?
I think Andzejdudel has been an impact player for them, and flexing him onto something he's not very comfortable with, whether that is or isn't the pip, I think that's really being spoken for through the play here. We haven't seen much from it so far. And Simsalo talked about yesterday that this is a hard thing to pull off. You have a lot relying on you being good individually, and this is not something that Andzejdudel is known for individually.
I mean, it is very hard to pull all this stuff off. A nice Immortal is going to keep him alive and Cliku. They said his Fernando was on fire, but I didn't know they meant literally. This guy is absolutely setting the realm ablaze. Another fireball, another dash, and a Dread Serpent here from kowa, but Ethereall has resilience. He says, bring it on, Papa. Snake, come meet Daddy as he swings the axe once, twice, 3 times, and it's a full deicide on a Mousesports.
Evan, he is getting so much splash damage with this Massacre Axe, cleaving through 1, 2, even 3 targets at times during that fight. And the Shatterfall kills have been consistently falling, and the Renegades open things up hot 4-0.
Look at this. I like the faces here from Renegades. Focused. There's no smiles.
Everybody's got that CSGO fist bump going on.
I
right
know.
now.
Well, I think we need to get that. Maybe it's not the CSGO fist book. It's the Paladins like...
The Paladins pound.
The Paladins pound. I like that. That's a good thing. And look at that, Nick. 3 members on the side of Renegades, including the healer and the tank. Oh, the 2 healers and the tank didn't die at all. That's not going to win you a lot of games.
Shady on the Grok dropping 45K as well, almost top damage. But you know, we talked about, or the desk talked about how underrated these tank players for the Renegades are. And another Shatterfall, one of the most satisfying ways. And look at this cleave, 1, 2, and 3. A kill every swing there for young Ethereall.
Terminus just actually was executing out that nursery rhyme. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Jumps up in the air and reaches down to just tie a lace. Happens to bring the axe down as well and cleave a couple on the way. But he's just a nice, kind-hearted, dead guy.
And I mean, a lot of the kills going the way of Ethereall, but you have to look at Cliku there on the right side of your screen, setting up so much. Frankly, it felt like that was the frontliners of Renegades controlling that game. Lokii was doing what he was doing, but it was all about the setup. Like you mentioned, he came to the party 3 hours late. It's because the stars of the show had already arrived. Cliku on Fernando, 5-2. He opened up first blood for his squad. He had great immortals, great fireballs, and overall control of Jaguar Falls.
You know, I actually think Fernando is starting to be one of the more higher skill cap tanks to look good in Paladins because of the fact that at a base level, like a casual level, he could stomp and roll over everybody. But once you get to that real high range of play, it's very easy to counter him. A lot of people know exactly what he's trying to do. You're not surprising anyone by fireballing and dashing in. However, the timing of all that, the Immortal, one of the most difficult ultimates to get full value out of consistently, and Cliku seemed to be putting himself in that position time and time and again to get clutch fireballs, to stay alive, and to capitalize on that Immortal, which that holy trinity right there is not often seen.
Right. I mean, Fernando has such a simple kit. There's not much to it, so it is all on the player to make decisions and do all the things that you just listed to make yourself look good, and it's incredible that Cliku is able to force himself onto the broadcast. He's giving us no other choice but to watch him because he is taking over this fight. He's starting it and finishing it.
And I think this is what Bird means when they go triple tank and they say Fernando does the same thing as Lazy, excuse me, as Eevee, who often plays that switch, and he's just a little tankier. He can distract. He was in the back line. He was the one creating space, but it's so important, again, to look at this from a higher level perspective. Moonchopper on Splice, and a lot of these pros look at this game as how much space does a front line create for our damage dealers to frag out, and that is what Cliku did better than almost anybody.
I think this is a good look for Mousesports to take the Terminus away. Terminus and Bomb King have sort of been the big question marks in the draft. I don't see Renegades letting Bomb King go at all or any point during this series, so Mousesports have to have good control over Terminus, or at least an answer for it.
Now, heading into this one, the only way I see Mouse feeling really comfortable playing Drogos is if they take the buck away from Renegades. And I think Renegades here also have to be wary about what Mouse want. Can they take buck away from them in this second and third pick? Because I think they feel that Mouse might, and that's why they prioritize it here. Because otherwise, you can get that secondary tank, that ruckus, maybe something that that Fernando, if you feel really comfortable on it, and leave the buck for later.
They're gonna go for the Dom, but Grok here leaving ruckus open still, which has been a big talking point for Syer, who was pretty quiet in the last game.
He was.
Have much to say. Renegades back to them, and Droxus is another one to look at, another deterrent for Drogos. But I think Renegades are going to stick with Buck. I think Buck is the better look for this tournament in particular, and the better Renegades get at it, and the quicker they're able to do so, it bodes better for their chances of making it to HRX in January. And if they can continue to deter Mouse have the option to pick Drogos against this Buck if they want. They still have an option to go something like maybe a Torvald. They could potentially protect it and allow that matchup to skew a little bit over further on the side of Mousesports.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you have Torvald, you have Baldamba, you have both forms of kind of augmented movement speed in the Swift Spirits card and in the Wind Dancer card in both of their respective kits, the aforementioned and the after. But I think Shaolin also here is something that we see Lokii on most of the time. ShadeeyShades, in my opinion, would again be featured on the Buck in this lineup, but we've been wrong once. We may be wrong again. I just don't know who would play it outside of that, what they have up their sleeve.
Triple support here and a couple of tanky front lines. Now, Grok brings a decent amount of damage. He's going to bring that spread damage that we've seen the Shock Pulse. He puts himself near the top of the damage charts at all points, and I think the Grover the Ruckus might be enough for that damage to kind of spool the way of Mousesports over time. But the point here is that I don't think Mouse are looking to give this Buck any good targets to jump on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's got a lot of good targets when he wants. Anyone who's low is susceptible to the Buck. And with this new style of play, he's not jumping in and trying to capitalize and burst down to 2,600 health target. He's using his weapon from range, bursting you to 1,200 health, and then jumping in when he's just 1-2 shots away. A net shot, an easy slow, and he's got you. However, the self-healing, the Gourd, the Healing Totem, the Blossom, all of these champions can take care of themselves, which is going to mean they can get to their own devices in the game.
I don't know how this Grok is going to be able to do, especially if Renegades elect to spread out. If they put Inara on the point, Fernando sticks with Shaolin, and then Buck is just kind of allowed to lone wolf. Genos can kind of keep to himself as well. There's not going to be a whole lot of impact to be had with the Shock Pulse. And if they put another impact player on it, like an Andzejdudel or something like that, I mean, Mousesports could be in an awkward spot here. This is a draft not often pulled off very effectively. And I feel like most times I've seen like triple support or something like that, it's been on a snowbally map where Stonekeep is not necessarily synonymous with that style of play.
Now let's also look at this. We have not seen a lot of these champions run with Luminary. That's just not been the case. Stormtroopey going into that legendary last game maybe had an untold difference, maybe made a little bit more pressure happen early on, and that was what the snowball was about. Lokii back on the Shaolin could be important, Nick, but ShadeeyShades, his first time on this bulk up Buck, we're going to have to see how that performs heading out into round 1.
It's funny how that's just kind of become the standard amongst anyone to play Buck in this tournament. Pushing that TTK just a little bit higher ends up being worth it, and already they're able to back up Inara. Mousesports, I mean, they have the point presence early on. Renegades have to approach this fight with caution.
But right now, the poke battle is actually happening up top, and Stormtroopey and Lokii are finding good damage, yet it gets healed up. They get some cooldowns, though, but it's not nearly enough. Cliku hasn't had that early on kind of aggressive flank that we saw last time. Emitter gets popped, and now after is when Lokii finds a kill, and this is probably when we'll see a bit more aggression come through. NTBees isolated from his squad, and he goes down early, and Andzejdudel looks to be the next to fall.
Ooh, if any of those axes had connected, Lokii would have fallen, but he'll retain his life. Looking for the shots onto these tanks as they fade away. ShadeeyShades able to clean up Syer on his way out, and it's another Renegades early point fight going the way of the red.
And that's the thing. I mean, this is basically better map control, because on Stonekeep, taking that upper balcony exposes you to every area, and it gives you really easy poke your head in and out while not being exposed to multiple angles. They have to come to you, and so that aggressive play for Renegades actually ends up working out in their favor. 99% of the objective is captured, and now NTBees finding Ethereall early on. Excuse me, Ethereall finding NTBees is now going to snowball this further for Renegades.
Terminus just getting cut down before he can get to the point. We talked earlier about how that up and down play style with the power siphon doesn't leave you for a lot of room for error. The Buck Wild does, though, as ShadeeyShades cuts his way through kowa and looks for a little bit more.
Kowa, how you doing, buddy? I don't know. ShadeeyShades saying hi to you and Andzejdudel, who has yet to play that Drogos. We've seen him get that real important win in the PPL against Virtus Pro here on this map. They have respected the Buck. You can see why. But at this point, whatever they're choosing hasn't worked yet. The whirlwind from Grover, maybe that's going to change things and stabilize this push for now.
Mousesports don't think they can afford to give up another push. That's why they're using these ultimates, trying to stay alive, but Lokii looks to get aggressive with a heat haze.
Nice plays. NTBees has to look left and right, and that's not what your Terminus wants. Does he have to reanimate? He doesn't quite have it yet. This has been such a snowball, such an aggressive play that he doesn't even have his ult. 92%, 98. Oh, he's got 100, and he goes down. Once more, he will rise, but still no kills found off of it. Another great Immortal, and if he stays alive here, oh my God, he just might click you. What are you doing? This Fernando play is pitch perfect.
The charge cooldown comes up just as Cliku needs it, but Mousesports are holding strong at this gate. My main concern is that they're not winning these early rounds, and they absolutely have to. This composition is going to fall off hard in the late game once Cauterize is a factor.
So true, Nick. Syer pops that bubble, and of course, at the end of the day, he's a 24 level Ruckus, but what does that have to do against the onslaught? That is Renegades. NTBees. big time stuff. Triple kill for him, the frontliner, showing that he can slam down on the axe when you give it to him. This guy, veteran in EU, stabilizing, at least for now, for Mousesports.
Hacking his way through and hacking his way to a nice 40% on his ultimate charge, something he's going to need probably of again. As 33 seconds, it's a long shot that he'll get a charge. If he can start hacking away at this Fernando early, maybe he can use him as a battery.
Is this an overextension here? Are you worried at all?
From who? From NTBees? It's close. He's holding this corridor well, but he's out of juice for his power siphon.
I was a little worried there. It didn't look like he was holding up, and Stormtroopey was right behind Cliku and Lokii as well. Now they have full balcony control. Everyone on Mousesports is corralled into that right side, and again, the space. Look at what's happening. Lokii not having to be the first thought, but he is definitely the first thought of Andzejdudel, who falls.
94% on the Heat Haze. It is fully charged. Looking, you can use to pop it at any single time in this engagement. Overtime has started. Syer falls. Just one return kill, and it looks like another 2-0 for the Renegades.
My man's melting like Swiss cheese out here. Renegades, they're not the ones yelling. That was someone on the NA side in the crowd, some SK or G2 member or Envy or Splice. But at the end of the day, Renegades, they've never been those guys. They just talk calmly and try to adjust the situation. So far, looking good.
Ends up finding the triple kill. You gotta love those Shatterfall kills. Double for NTBees. He actually finds a triple here as well. Swinging madly at the self-appointed knight. ShadeeyShades playing the buck this time around. So far, so good from him. He's done what he had to, I think.
You know, I want to talk about something too, and I think this just gets, you talk about it in real sports. Whenever you see like a baseball team and all of a sudden a team's swinging hard, they're getting two hits, 3 hits, bases loaded, and all of a sudden it starts to rain. Rain delay. 1 hour, 2 hour. The game loses all its momentum. Coming back in and picking right up where you left off is hard. Renegades had to wait till the very end of today to play. These guys were tired. They were on the couch. They watched every game. I mean, there's only so many things you can eat here, Nick. There's fried food and Doritos and everything that could probably throw you off mentally.
But Evan, that's what fuels the gamer.
And not give you stamina. I know, it fuels a lot of gamers. But, I mean, I think it's impressive that they've come here at the very end and look this sharp.
Absolutely, and they've been kind of studying it all day, having sometimes the benefit, I think, of watching all day and seeing how other teams are looking, because we've seen what works, right? We've had really the grand finals played yesterday with Virtus.pro and G2, and everyone has seen what works, and then Renegades get the opportunity today of watching everyone attempt to recreate it, seeing, well, maybe what works, what doesn't work. Do you have to go all in on this? Can you take a little bit from it? What can we use from this successful strategy? And so far, Buck seems to be working out for them. Buck seems to be working out for pretty much everyone.
I think that EU respect it too much. I know they respect it, but I think at this point, if a Drogos hits his shots and you think a Drogos is better here than a Grok or something else, you pick your Drogos. You have to count on him just outplaying. Yes, it's a bad matchup. Yes, Buck destroys it a lot, but if you're a better player, if you play it right, I think it could still have the impact you want. I think that's why Bulk Up Buck is here. No one knew how to play him except being Bounce House, and now Bulk Up Simsaloo shows you a few things or two, and it becomes the meta, and the game changer here is a Seismic Crash and Whirlwind start the fight.
How is he going to use this wall as well? I think he has a nice opportunity to split up Mousesports in this narrow corridor if he wants to pop that up pretty soon here. The Heat Haze is available if electing to go into it. Lokii is very careful about how he uses Planted, very rarely following up his own Impaler stunts. He does not want to stop moving. And I mean, with a Grover on the enemy team, I can understand why.
And now Terminus has that reanimate, and this is not looking good for Renegades. Mousesports finally on the front end, and they have to do something big. That may be a start. NTBees still healthy. Lokii getting pressured by Andzejdudel, the youngster, 15 years old, will clean that one up, and he's been a great partner in crime for Mousesports. But as Ethereall, Stormtroopey, 3v1 NTBees, the reanimate seems to be the only choice. No, he will. Yes, he's coming back with the wall. He's going to block it right off, and through time and space is going to take half his life away. That got nothing.
Great counterplay there from Stormtroopey, utilizing that ultimate perfectly. Basically, as he's resurrected, the second he hits play, he's ready to take that big damage, losing about, you're right, half of his HP out of the gate.
17 streak, 16 streak. Stormtroopey on Genos 2 games in a row. Super comfortable. Shades on this Buck, looking like Shades of the old day. Headshot there on Andzejdudel, backing off again. And here's the Buck Wild. He's trying to start this party here and get wild.
Oh, no.
Maybe a few gin and tonics deep here as he continues to fire on. Headshots are what he's looking for, but he'll take body shots as well. A net goes in, but it doesn't come back out. Cliku left alone. Mousesports, will they resurge here? They're 99%. If he steps off, they look to claim this one, but Ethereall on the mount. Can he get back? No. Mousesports, they're going to turn it around and take some control here.
Andzejdudel has his Tempest available. He was the one that got credit for shutting down that massive ShadeeyShades streak, so now it'll be Mousesports looking to get aggressive here. They need to start getting some momentum. They need to seize this and not let it go, because later into the game, I don't see Renegades being able to lose this.
And that is something, you know, I think is important to consider as well. Timing. Not only just the location, the map awareness, where you're taking fights, but the timing of when those fights occur, whether they're early game or late game, depending on your draft. There's so many factors to think about in Paladins esports, and ShadeeyShades, he's been having to think about a lot as well. So far, 2 kills, and Lokii following up on that. They defend here. They still 3-1, still game point. Mousesports, I think they have to push this if they want a chance at winning.
Got a lot of ultimates to do it, but if they look to adopt the strategy of their European brothers, they will do their best to find this offense without it, getting as much as they can for as little as they can. Picking safe comps, you know, hedging their bets, looking for massive value. It all just feels like a big Wall Street bet.
Hey, you gave up that finance major, man. You got to bring that out of the cast, okay? You left that in college. You're a gamer now.
You left your soccer in college as well, but you still bring it up.
No, I'm an athlete, bro. That's the thing. I could bring that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love it, actually. We should teach us a little bit about investing 401ks. I want to see some more comparisons.
It's all about safety at the end of the day. That's hedging your bets and picking what you know is going to work at the end of the day is what I think has won the day.
And I think that's maybe what will win the day. Andzejdudel firing onto Stormtroopey. ShadeeyShades again on his own devices. That's been the kind of story about this bulk up buck where 2 healers are kind of needed to match the Inara Maldamba healing or the Terminus Maldamba sustain, and you need flankers that can do it by themselves. You need flankers that aren't just gonna have to be babysat by that healer, because that core fight is so important. And well, the Immortal falls thanks to ShadeeyShades just taking care of himself, doesn't need a babysitter.
Still sitting on a lot of ultimates. The Renegades used 2 to try and get him going, but they're 2 of their quicker charging ultimates. I think especially given the amount of damage that Grok puts out, you know, whether or not it has an impact on the overall fight, it does charge his ultimate very quickly, so you can see Grok players can use this liberally, and it doesn't really ever get punished because the ultimate's up just so very often. He's already at 89%, 90, and climbing quickly.
So many people are low right now. NTBees throws the power siphon up. Blossom by the Grover, and it's going to be Kowa who goes down thanks to ShadeeyShades, and Stormtroopey has some healer on healer crime as he finds Slashwhine. Lokii as well trying to find Syer, and NTBees lifted up into the air, and it's going to go back to base, saving that reanimate for the next round. Mousesports looking at the precipice of defeat, potentially for the 2nd game in a row against the Renegades.
I think Mousesports just don't have a win condition with this composition, man. They have...
Looks difficult.
You know, you can sit on the point better than anyone else. But at the end of the day, if you can't get any frags, the Renegades are allowed to play so slowly and carefully. When you try and slow the game down, it just opens up, you know, you have this severe lack of burst damage to the Renegades. They're going to see their deaths coming far before they come, and that's why you're seeing these massive streaks. 24 streak for Stormtroopey, 9-0, 16-1 for ShadeeyShades on the buck. You're not catching one off guard. You're not stunning them with an impale and blowing them up with planning. You're not hitting them with these massive axes. Slashwine's only 1-6 on Grover. He's not taking anyone by surprise.
And now still fighting with the comeback mechanic. Mousesports already 23% to their name, so this upper balcony strategy has to be changed, adjusted a little bit, or they got to frag out a little bit faster. Emitter charge as well. ShadeeyShades with bulk up. Actually going to run around. There's the Immortal. There's the through time and space. Stormtroopey finds Slashwhine, and that 1 health.
1 HP.
But NTB still has to use a little bit of time to chase him, and maybe that 1 second is going to make the difference.
And now onto the point goes Lokii just to contest out with NTBees, who goes down. He has his reanimate available.
They're setting up for the wall. He would have wasted it there. That was a smart move by NTBees. You're going to be able to have a chance back.
Would he though? They was like way up in the air. He would have reanimated midair from there.
Ooh.
That would have been weird. It would have been a risk nonetheless, because he didn't have any of his teammates with him. And I think they can afford to go for the full reset here without Renegades having to come back.
Yeah, I don't think you're worried. And now you know you've got not 1 frontliner, but 2. That's the benefit of running this Terminus. They've got 3 supports as well. But this healing maybe Not looking as good with Cauterize. In effect, Syer, he's going to be the first to fall, most likely there. Cliku helps the shield and finds Lokii with a 10 streak. Impale, no planted use yet, and Slashwhine says you can't use it this fight, but here's Cliku trying to find the kill, and ShadeeyShades, he's going to find one more. NTBees on the point, and this time he has to reanimate, you'd say. Otherwise, there's no chance for Renegades, Mousesports, to get back in this.
He's buying a lot of time and allowing his respawns to actually come through. Up to the high ground goes ShadeeyShades. He doesn't have his recovery. Kowa fragging out.
I can't believe it, and here's the reanimate the wall just in time, and they're still contesting, but it is not looking good. Ethereall through time and space. Stormtroopey finds NTBees, and now with the front line down, can Cliku have something to say about it? It's just been too fast.
The cleave damage, man, is just ripping through that Fernando shield. He couldn't do anything about it. He was 89, very close to his ultimate, but unable to get it online just quick enough. But this is where Mousesports have been before and fallen short. It's punching through when they don't have the ability to get that respawn proximity, and the further they push, the less it's going to be a factor.
And I think this is also not adjusting to what Mousesports have done a good job adjusting to. They're going to take the advantage of the comeback mechanic. A lot of teams in Europe really comfortable going down 3-1, going down 2-0, saving ultimates. That's why we see that thing, because fighting with the comeback mechanic in your favor, having that extra charge for those who are just joining us here and not sure of that mechanic, allows you to have that huge advantage onto this point capture and continually earn more credits and even up this game.
It's not quite. It's about, 33% faster, taking for 4% instead of 3. Stormtroopey finds the big kill on the Slashwhine there to just prevent Mousesports from doing anything. They're hitting the brick wall again. We saw them hit the brick wall last round, and they were never able to push much further than they are now. Mousesports, it's a very slow-moving composition that doesn't do a ton of burst damage, whereas the Renegades, they can get around the map here with this Genos, with this Buck, and of course Shaolin being able to fight from pretty much any range.
Let's take a look into the mind of Pretty Hair here. What went right, what went wrong for that last point fight in terms of Renegades not being able to finish it off and Mousesports keeping this game alive?
It's part of the nature of their ultimates, just being able to get so many full resets in a fight, not only with the Grover ultimate, but with the Terminus ultimate, as well as having that comeback mechanic online. Going into a point fight with the comeback mechanic and with a lot of hard reset ultimates, that's the ultimate hedging of your bets. That is the most guaranteed round you could have.
Now the thing here to be aware of is that at this point, Mousesports actually have an advantage credit-wise over Renegades just as far as the ultimate, as the objective goes. That net worth will show it's probably evened up a little bit after that win.
I think just due to the amount of kills that Renegades are getting, I would believe that they're probably
still
ahead
miles
in terms
ahead.
Of credits. I mean, we can look at the net worth chart here potentially and look at it. There is those, the point-heavy ones. NTBees is going to be there all the time, and despite, you're right, Mousesports being on the offense more often than not, having that 600 total credits for 2 payloads captured, they're still not in the lead.
And that's using the comeback mechanic to your advantage, because if they get this next one, then I think they take the full lead. I think they really do go ahead, and we're seeing Slashwhine and Andzejdudel capitalizing here. Could be interesting. I smell something cooking in the kitchen of Mousesports. They've got 3 kills. They've got overtime. They might just tie this thing up if Renegades aren't careful.
Looking for the big axes from the distance. We'll find a 600 damage, and now chipping away at Cliku. Eats a fireball, but has a gourd to fight from. So this is kind of an awkward matchup. I don't know if Cliku wants to take this.
I don't know if he wants it, but he's got it. ShadeeyShades as well. Forces the whirlwind, and the Cauterize is huge. They know they want to push here, but the problem might be that they don't have that heading into next round. Yet Mousesports, they put it all on red. They are gambling here, yet maybe that red item Cauterize is going to make that not sure of a bet there. Maybe not the safest investment. NTBees holding on to the reanimate, and that could just be a game changer without one of those huge burst healing ultimates on the table now for game point.
They pop 2 ultimates. They pop the Whirlwind, and they pop the Hexafire, and this is where these picks start to fall off. You're seeing the Cauterize be very effective at shutting down this Grover ultimate. Andzejdudel unable to get much done there. Slashwhine on Grover, unable to get any of his healing out from that Whirlwind. Virtually useless at this point. With 3 Cauterized 3s online, whenever it's applied, it's going to be that 90% margin.
I mean, my God. The day of resilience at Bulldozer has arrived. The budget buys are on sale, and they're even more effective than usual. I mean, we're just seeing them all over the place. And that's okay. Paladins World Championship Qualifiers is here. You're going to see the
Hedge
spice,
your bets,
baby.
buy low, sell high.
Sell
Oh,
high. And Stormtroopey, he's selling as high as possible, finds a first kill. He'll take one. And he's the top bid for taking down Mousesports as Lokii finds NTBees. Syer almost running away, but the emitter will save his life, and that could be a sign of at least hope for Mousesports here.
So Mousesports have a lesser version of the comeback mechanic that they had in the previous rounds, where every other tick that they garner on the point will be worth 4%. And then the others will still be worth 3, just like the Renegades have to go 3% at a time on their quest for 100.
Uh-oh, this is not great. You have the wall available. NTBees back on the objective, and it's not capturing just as fast as you mentioned, Nick. It's a little bit slower, so they're taking this fight on the room, saying, NTBees, stay on that point. We're fine if you leave it. We're fine if you come through. But right now, Kowa goes down through time and space. That's a big one. Cliku finds Kowa. NTBees still fighting, but his team slowly but surely is crumbling in the back line. Lokii looks to finish Andzejdudel off and turn his attention to Slashwhine.
Evan, the strategy is just running out of steam. The healing is no longer there, and Mousesports cannot hold a candle in these team fights to the Renegades, who take another game and are one away from punching their ticket onward and upward in this tournament.
Cliku holding up the brand new shield coming through for Fernando. You see the American dog there with the flags representing Renegades. And despite G2 kind of North America's last hope here in the arena, a lot of teams who are out of this tournament, SK
Storm.
included, cheering
Storm.
them on. But wow, wow, wow. Some good stats over there from Stormtroopey.
17 and 3, 109k damage.
That's unusual.
It is a lot of damage for Genos. Normally we don't see him in contention with Grok and Grover. And Syer down 6 and 15, 81,000 damage for him. That's a rough game. Substitute player for Mousesports, getting his comfort pick, but still unable to make a splash.
Over 200k as well. I mean, and that's the thing. We're looking at Lokii here, and obviously on that Genos, so good. Stormtroopey as well, as you see his stat lines. But this guy that we see on screen, Lokii, he was targeted by G2. And I'm telling you, targeted. And so was Prince Danny. These guys knew that these were the linchpins, so to speak, of their lineups, and Lokii is performing extremely well, and I think that's giving ShadeeyShades a lot of room to do okay, underperform, be mediocre, do great, because he's stably going to town on these guys.
Did a good job staying alive as well. Had the Grover, which was probably his biggest threat on the board, but only dying 8 times there, finding a big chunk of damage and some credits to buy himself to victory. And just the fall off of Wrecker has really kind of thrown things for a loop here, as Inara and Terminus being the most popular of the tanks here by far. I mean, the strength of Wrecker has just determined it that it will be so, but that has allowed Cauterize to really come into effect as well, and a lot of anti-heal is what you need when you're going up against those big, rocky, immortal tanks.
And the only thing I think that's working for Renegades here ahead of Mousesports, rather than keeping it a clean slate, is, yeah, Mousesports, I think their mentality is a lot less confident than the competition Renegades have to face, and I think that's easing up the pressure on Renegades to perform. But I also think that Renegades have been in this situation a lot. They're really comfortable in these tight sets. They're okay just coming off that 5-game set against G2. Mousesports getting their first win of the day as well. It's a little weird. I think mentally you have to stay strong. Going back to 2 losses in a row, you can't start to think we're back to not really putting it together again.
Maybe that's on their minds as well. The Renegades are pretty battle-tested at this point. They've had to go the distance against some of the best in the business. And as they look forward for their final win, if they can find the 3-0 sweep over Mousesports, that'll be the easiest way for them to put this one away. And they'll have one more map to do it. Not even necessarily a weak map for them. I think they play the Serpent Beach picks very well, which are, of course, those mobility styles. Look for the Buck, look for the Androxus, who we notably, I don't think, seen yet between 2 very highly contested picks here for the Renegades. They love them some hit scan.
So what happens here? The Bomb King ban's working out for Renegades. Mousesports takes second pick. I think they want the Buck back. And I actually think that that's why Mouse is not banning Terminus, because then Renegades would take Inara, and Mousesports would be left without a tank, one of the immortals, so to speak, to contend against her. So I expect a Makoa Buck, and there it is. It's that Buck, and now Renegades, they do have the chance of Terminus and Inara, and, you know, in NA, they say you just don't do that.
What this maybe allows Mousesports is if you do give up Inara to Renegades as well, you could potentially run the Drogos. You do risk the Androxus coming out, and you have two very good Andro players on the Renegades, but Makoa is an okay answer to Androxus as long as he is allowed to babysit this Drogos. There's going to be a lot of weight on the Drogos if that's the way they want to go. Buck as well can have a decent matchup against the Andro if he can get off the recovery to full effect. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Renegades taking their time with these picks.
I definitely expect that Drogos could be a part of the equation. I mean, I really expect a Drogos here, and unless they respect the Grover just as much, and that is something that could deal with him in the sky. Not quite hit scan, but damn near close, because those projectiles move so fast and they just never stop coming. You cannot hover into the air. But Andzejdudel has yet to really feel comfortable for me. I would like to see him on a flavor pick, not that Pip, not that Grok. I'd look for Drogos here, but you have to let him just be confident going into this Grover and maybe an Andro or Leon.
It's hard to pick it up this early. Renegades have such good hit scan players and so many options to go to. You take the Buck, they've got the Andro. If you somehow get that out of the equation, they've got the Leon as well. Mousesports are going to go for the Ruckus. That's good to get this man comfortable, get him on some vertical mobility. They'll keep it open as they head forward. They could go for the Drogos here. I think this is probably the best position for them to still be in going into the last phase of the draft.
They've got the babysitter with Ruckus. They've got the peel with Makoa if things get too heavy, and they've got a lot of setup. There are decent opportunities here. Makoa and Buck can kind of be their own win conditions in different situations. Grover as well. We've seen that. And certainly Terminus. Fernando, the way Cliku has been playing it, has definitely proven to be something noteworthy on the side of Renegades, and teams are going to have to look at maybe taking that away, maybe prioritizing that, because it seemed to be a real benchmark for this tank player.
What will they go for here? They still need their primary healer. It will be the Genos for the Renegades. Stormtroopey's been allowed to be on his comfort pick. He played this 70% of the time through the PPL, and he's gotten it every time in this set. Androxus, power picks locked in for the Renegades. I think the one question for them is the Grover. That's not something standard for them. We've seen it succeed, but only the best that were able to run it were able to find effectiveness with it, not necessarily his best map.
I think this could be dangerous. Renegades, if they play the same way they did on Jaguar Falls, they send Cliku into the back line, and they either have ShadeeyShades or Lokii, creating 1-2 axes that land onto targets like Buck, like Ruckus, like Damba. It is going to be a field day for Lokii on Androxus, and I think that's who we're going to see there. He's proven he can play it. I don't expect Shades to grab that one. Mousesports will grab Grok, and I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. I'm not sure.
I think Renegades, I think they did what they had to do here. I think they kept Andzejdudel off any of his power picks the entirety of the set, man. You put him on this Grok every game.
You just can't. I think EU teams are I don't know, and it's not just about EU teams. I think just a lot of teams here don't want to play it into the Andro, don't want to play it into the Grover, don't want to play into the Buck. But with Terminus and Inara the way they are, with Shaolin the way they are, with Bomb King the way they are, you will, I think, never have a draft where Drogos is easily played if the enemy team doesn't want you to into any of those champions. I think you're just going to have to be confident with it. They're not going to risk it right now.
His biggest problem amongst the players' opinions is that he's too counterable, but we've seen a lot of times, Fuselad's been pretty popular this tournament, but there's a lot of things on Drogos that throw matchups into that gray area. It's very rarely so black and white. Very rarely do you catch a Drogos so far off guard that it's like just an Androxus shooting a Drogos in the sky. There's always usually so much more that goes into it. But it is what it is here. Potentially the final game loading up between the Renegades and Mousesports. Renegades up 2-0, looking for their final victory to complete the sweep over the now winless PPL team, but have found one win Mousesports squad today.
And again, you'll see Celestial Touch. I wonder if Stormtroopey will stay with that.
Nope.
And he's going to switch. Luminary's been big for them. That's another note. I think if you're a Fnatic and you're watching, that they've gone to this Luminary Genos every single time. I try to take that comfort pick away if you're facing them. But right now, here's what I expect. An Axe goes on to Andzejdudel, forces the totem, Cliku in the background, and here's Lokii having a field day. Say hello to Lokii. NTBees, you're the first one to say hi. Kowa, are you next? Looks not so good for Mousesports as they've got 24%, but this looks to be a quick and easy fight going the way of Renegades.
And that's without Luminary. This is with Luminary. Lokii has to back off. He's scared off basically all of Mousesports, and That 10% extra damage on one of the highest DPS characters in the game, 15%, excuse me, is extremely terrifying to deal with. Already can catch you so far off guard with the amount of burst he can put out. I mean, you gotta really be careful and play around that dredge anchor. That is your key, Mousesports.
However, this is good backup play. They lose that first part to the aggressiveness of Renegades, but how does Mousesports bounce back? Well, they'll use the jump from Buck. The shield goes up from Cliku, and he's alive, so I expect them to still be able to contest. They don't really have any cripples. The Makoa hook could stop one. And yes, the Grok trying to poke them out, but 63% onto the objective. Mousesports can't just stand here. I think this is going to be a dangerous play.
84% for the Renegades. Mousesports tying it back up before Ethereall was able to get in here, get involved. But again, it feels like early on the Renegades Mousesports should be able to take this one. Lokii gets onto the healer. Kowa, your days are numbered, sir. One more shot from the Godslayer, and that's all she wrote. 5-0, Mousesports fall.
And in many ways, this was over, I think, that first fight, the second that Renegades executed that plan. It looks good on paper, and when you execute a good plan that looks good on paper and you put it into practice, that usually ends up with success.
That's kind of it.
Yeah. I mean, you plan it, you practice it, you execute it, it does end up working. Reanimate could be big here through time and space. Hey, it's a party on Serpent Beach, and everyone's invited. A Calamity Blast for you. A Calamity Blast for you. He's going to hold on to that last one, but Lokii says a cursed arm. Stormtroopey finds Andzejdudel, and Slashwhine shuts down the Godslayer, but the shield from Ruckus, it's only going to last so long with ShadeeyShades throwing axes from that Grover.
And while he did jump, Buck never got out of range of Fernando, so Cliku has been just applying that dot to him the entire time.
And you know, I think Kliku's really been the X factor for me in many ways.
He's been good.
You don't see a lot of impact plays from Fernando's over and over and over again. When I see Fernando, I see a lot of lackluster stuff, a lot of average, okay, but Kliku's really made a statement against Mousesports, and I can't tell if this is more about Mousesports or more about Cliku. I'm going to give Cliku the credit, the benefit of the doubt, that he is just bringing something in terms of game sense that a lot of other Fernandos aren't bringing right now.
And nothing for that. Hexfire goes half into Fernando's shield, half into Power Siphon. Cliku has the Immortal if he needs it, but he's still pretty healthy.
Might use it now, and that is it. Kowa, headshot from Lokii. Darkstalker taking it into effect. And Luminary, not quite on him yet. That's something Stormtroopey's just put onto him. He's got it through time and space, Nick. We've used this one in our own play. And that's a nice little lined up spot here on Serpent Beach. I think Renegades are just going to back it up. They've got 48 seconds left to push this in.
Oh, looking for this kill. One more shot on the Lokii would do it. Syer's going to help him clean that one up. A lot of ultimates used from both squads there. Just the through time and space available for the Renegades. Mousesports, same story, but the tail is Ancient Rage for them. But they're a little bit lower on the ultimate charge. This one is going to come down to pretty much raw play if the Renegades want to push it through.
3 streak, 4 Slashwhine. That's important. This guy was the one we interviewed once Mousesports found that victory early on. But he hasn't been able to find much success yet. Getting a kill on the Lokii would have been great, but he actually gets baited himself. Bulk of Buck, can it stop? The Stegala Terminus will swing through, and Stormtroopey again finds a kill. This is Ethereall just buying so much time, creating so much space. And will the through time and space even need to be used as 2 fall, and it's looking to be 3 here.
And I was putting out a look at all this damage Stormtroopey is able to do. Stormtroopey and the tanks, frankly, have been looking like the biggest playmakers for the Renegades this set.
It's like a boy band, Stormtroopey and the Tanks, playing Thursday nights at the Hi-Rez Arena. Well, it's Saturday, and it is a fun time. I don't think anyone else on the Mousesports team is enjoying the show, though.
He's just been puking damage all over this Mousesports squad. It's really no stopping Stormtroopey. He's been going for 4, really just all over the place. Hasn't died either. So just like there were a bunch of plates on his desk, just swipes them all down onto the floor. Stormtroopey don't give a damn.
He doesn't give a damn, and he shouldn't. Right now he's on a 16 streak, and ShadeeyShades easily swapping to the Grover. The one thing about the Grover, and what makes it so good in this meta and so flexible, is a lot of people can play it. It is not that crazy. I mean, Bugsy's taking it to the next level. I mean, he's the one person hitting those midair vines onto flying EVs and following that up. That's something I'm not seeing everybody do. But this axe right here, ShadeeyShades feels real comfortable, having played him a lot or not. I think anybody can do this role, but it's Renegades who are really putting it into practice here with this aggressive lineup.
Hey, look. He did it again.
Is he going straight? He is. He's going straight.
And just infinite ammo just whacking away.
Oh,
finding
boy.
big damage. And look at this man. Daddy. Up from who dat? Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
Daddy's home, and it's not Daddy's Home 2. That movie didn't get a lot of good reviews. I think Ethereal's play, though, will be rated quite highly on Paladins Tomatoes here. As speaking of tomatoes, Grover hits the vine.
Ooh.
And ShadeeyShades.
That was cute.
He ends up paying the price for being near it.
I like that. Up and down. NTBees into the Ancient Rage he goes, but he's running straight into a Fernando shield. And quick work he is made of on the point. Lokii gets the final blow, but Renegades look to go up 3-0 with a punch.
And Lokii finding headshots, but making those heads roll. He doesn't even have the legendary equip. 6 shots in the revolver is all he needs. 8's too much. In fact, it's a little too heavy on the side, and he's really paying attention to his lumbar support, okay? He doesn't want to throw things off.
NTBees goes down. It is going to be that third card captured for the Renegades. 1 ultimate to none on the side of Mousesports. Streak starting to creep up. Mousesports starting to maybe feel against the ropes here as they have but 1 defense left to turn this one around.
I don't know what else to say. Renegades have played good. No one knew what they were going to see from them. I think you and I both didn't really know what to expect. We had heard things. Obviously, everyone says they performed good on the day, but when you say overperform, I mean, this is definitely speaking to mine. It's been near flawless play in this set for me.
Not to say that he's played poorly, but Mousesports having to play with that substitute, having to put one of their most flexible DPS players onto support for this entire tournament, and then not being able to look to their other DPS player, Andzejdudel, who hasn't been on any of his power picks at any point in this set. It's like, what's their win condition?
Well, I mean, I think this is them trying to play safe, understanding a lot's on the line, and I think this is what you see with teams. That's why I think a lot of people were confused at what, you know, we witnessed yesterday with Virtus.pro and G2, the insane kind of flexibility and willingness to experiment in that set. A lot of people were thinking, you know, you try-harding in. This looks to me that Virtus.pro are try-harding, and when it comes to professional esports and Paladins, I've only ever seen people go back to safe stuff. Definitely 2 different ideologies there. But at the end of the day, the safety has definitely not worked.
Oh my God.
For Andzejdudel.
Shady has probably just farmed 10,000 damage in the last 30 seconds. Let's pull up the damage charts. He was leading, and there's no way he's not still.
It's going to be hard to take...
He's beating Grok. He is beating Groks, who have been top damaging this tournament easily.
Stormtroopey with a double kill, Nick, on to through time and space, and he continues to go through. Triple kill for Stormtroopey. He's going to get a quadra. Oh, Lokii takes it away. And Genos, he is the Ascended Traveler. He is going to go and throw his hands up in a little whoop-de-doo. As Renegades, it seems all but clear, and I think to Mousesports as well, as they group up for one last potential defense, that Renegades will secure this spot in the semifinals tomorrow, barring some incredibly amazing plays.
Able to get his Immortal off. They're going to hit it with everything they've got. Evan, all 5 ultimates from Mousesports. Isn't enough.
That. He's up, he's down, but he's blocking it up. That's the power siphon. It extends far in front of him. I've been trying to tell people a real nice reversal and an Ancient Rage, but Lokii just maneuvers into the backside. Andzejdudel spots him out. Good hook there as well. 2 seconds, 1 second, and yeah. It was an incredible play. It was an incredible defense. Mousesports again, maybe throwing a curveball into this otherwise straightforward matchup with the Renegades.
They had to spend everything they had to do it, but they will hold on for 1 more round. The Renegades thought they had one wrapped up. Stormtroopey with a nice time and space here, sees the opportunity and crushes it home. Double kill off the beam blast. Goes on to find himself what was almost a quadra kill. Frankly, could have easily been a pentakill there.
Easily.
A couple of little points of damage went his way.
Yeah, Lokii and that Dark Stalker really coming in clutch there, getting that double kill, because otherwise...
Wow, he's keeping up. Look at him. He's right in there with Lokii and Ethereall on Androxus and Terminus.
Well, when you keep hitting 2,400 ultimates on the multiple people, you tend to keep up in damage. And that's something that Genos was never doing prior to this patch. So I think that's why we're also seeing these numbers not inflated, but changing. Oh my God, everyone just joined the party. Ethereall swinging And he is going for the Grand Slam. I think 3 or 4 people were hit next to that Massacre bat, and he gets the execute there from the reanimate. It's forced Kowa back. It's forced Renegades into a great spot, and it's maybe forced Mousesports out of this tournament.
That is just the biggest swing. You turn a kill into literally the opposite type of trade. You come back to life and take somebody down as you come up, trading life for life there. All things must equal out in the end. Matter cannot be created or destroyed.
And at the end, maybe it doesn't even matter for Mousesports as Renegades continue to fire along. And with fire, they will continue to fight against Syer, who's kept himself in this corner. And Cliku, yes, he finds that final one. ShadeeyShades, the nice hits, the damage,
so
the emotes. It's all Renegades. Claps in the arena. But no smiles.
No pop-offs.
No pop-offs. These guys are not about that, Nick. And that's, I think, what I think a lot of people in the community respect about them. They just come through, they play their game. Yeah, they're happy. Of course, they won. They have a chance to qualify. But their work is far from being done. They've got Fnatic tomorrow.
Papa Shades, 103K. And I think a lot of the keys to defeating this group here of Mousesports are going to be some of the keys they'll need to have to unlock the victory against Fnatic as well. But you do have great hit scan pressure coming out when the Bomb King is not able to be played. Eevee, another thing that Visheko has looked very good on that Mousesports didn't or just weren't able to bring out with the roster they had available to them.
And at the end of the day, it's not a bad day for Mousesports at all. You see NTBees with a smile. I mean, they got their first win of the PPL here, and I think they proved that they are a roster that's improving. And that's something that that's all you want. You know, your first season, you're not going to get it all right. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs. Heck, if you've been a Lakers fan in Los Angeles watching this basketball for the last 4 years, you understand that sometimes things don't happen quickly. But Mousesports put themselves on the path to success, albeit maybe a slower one than they hoped, and Renegades move on to face Fnatic in tomorrow's semifinals. Let's throw it to the desk and see exactly what they have to say about this last matchup of the PWC.
Thank you, Evan. So with that, we have one more team going into the semifinals of this LAN, and that's going to be Renegades with a 3-0 finish. Quite aggressive meta pusher. Would you say that's reminiscent of the aggression we're typically used to seeing with Renegades?
Definitely. They looked really consistent, and they were playing their game, and they were doing it amazingly. And also, they weren't just playing their game. They were taking a lot of stuff away from Mouse that they really shined on in that set earlier with Kill the Heal.
And you had actually mentioned earlier, Mr. Hayes, when we were talking off camera about how important that first map was going to be to set the momentum.
Yeah, Renegades is a really momentum-based team. I mean, not that when they lose they start to tilt, but when they win, they just keep winning. Like, they just flow off of it, they build off the hype, and they just keep playing well.
And we saw that here.
Yeah.
Going straight through, got a little closer in some of the games, but ended up pulling the victory nonetheless. With Buck being such a prime talking point today and just coming through all of these matches, how do you think Meta Pusher that played into this in Renegades and how they handled it?
They did a lot. It's clear that they've been watching all these games from both regions, and I think they've shown the best ability to use the EU meta on their own and adapt it to their playstyle. They were able to take the Buck away from Slashwhine in the first 2 games and then also let him have it and beat him with it in Game 3.
In ShadeeyShades, he has a lot of experience within the scene. Even though he retired for a bit, he did come back into it. So do you believe, Mr. Hayes, that was apparent in his gameplay?
I mean, just look at the damage that he had there. That's unheard of. 155k damage on Buck.
That's a lot.
Top
just
damage
popped
all 3
off there.
games, I think, on the Grok, the Buck, and the Grover.
Yeah, actually, he was just powering on through. So even with picks like Grover and Grok, how do you think that they played into this?
I thought Renegades did really well, especially when there's a lot of accusations and stuff about this team being very one-sided. You know, Shades maybe being a Leon one trick. Well, he just proved that he could play 3 different things and still bring out the big damage.
Maybe that was a little extra motivation behind it, saying, I can show you, I got stuff in my pocket. But speaking about things in pockets, with the Fernando coming out and the Genos just being consistent there, Mr. Hayes, the reliance on these comfort picks seemed to work well.
Yeah, Kliku's been playing an amazing Nando, and of course there are better picks than Nando right now, but why would you go with something that you're not as comfortable with that's better, or just go with something that you're really good at and you can make work?
I really like that. Sorry to interrupt you,
You're
Hayes.
good.
I really like the Fern in Game 2 specifically because the Fireball is just such good caught spread against 3 supports with no shield to block them. It was a really good pick.
Do you think then there may have been a better way for Mousesports to handle this?
I think they should have took away the Genos. I think Storm is just nuts on Genos, so I think that they needed to take that away, and they had it all 3 games.
Yeah,
So.
having that consistently available really enabled Renegades to do, well, their Renegades thing. But as we mentioned before, this means they're going to be pushing on through to the semifinals alongside some of the other teams you saw today. In tomorrow's broadcast, that's when we will continue with this to find out who our qualifiers for HRX will be. Fellas, starting off with Meta Pusher, any last thoughts before we close it out here at the desk?
I'm so excited for tomorrow. Both these matchups are really excited. I really can't wait to see Purity, but also the Fnatic Renegades match is going to be super exciting.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, Mr. Hayes, real quick?
Dude, I'm ready for tomorrow already. I just want to get there already. We need to get those games going again.
Yeah, we're all ready, and we know we got an interview ready as well. So, Nick, go ahead and take it away.
What's up, guys? I'm here with the Dirty Genos main himself, getting him all 3 games and putting himself in contention for top damage real quick. Just what are your thoughts? How are you feeling? Were you expecting to have such an easy breezy cover girl type of victory in that matchup?
Well, we were expecting an easy win versus Mouse.
Really?
Didn't take much to figure out what they were going to pick.
It really felt like you guys kind of had that draft locked down. Talk to me about, I think you specifically tacked Andzejdudel. You didn't let him anywhere near the Bomb King at any point during that set, and it felt like it worked out very well for you. Is that one thing that you were specifically prepared for going into this matchup?
Well, in terms of playing the matchup,
Yeah.
we picked some really easy characters. And so no matter what we did, it was the correct choice. Whether we just threw Buck to run at them or had the Grover just peg someone with an axe.
Yeah.
Easy characters, easy win.
I mean, yeah, ShadeeyShades was hitting a lot of axes there, but you yourself, I mean, you got Genos every single game. Would you say he is by far your most comfortable character?
I wouldn't say he's my most comfortable. I would just say he's my most played because his versatility, being able to heal through walls, like means a lot, and it allows you to actually like push onto them or play really far back. It's a really safe pick.
Talk to me about the buffs to Genos, specifically his ultimate, because playing him for so long, playing him a lot, you've been one of the more consistent guys to hit this ultimate, and you're one of the few that makes it work without any type of setup. We saw you hit the raw ultimate there down the stretch and almost actually pull out the pentakill. So is this character really just kind of coming to his own for you?
Well, when we played versus SK in PGS, or PPL, when it had the 1.5 second cast time, I was landing every single one on Stolzy. But now that it has a 1.2, easiest ult in the game to land.
And I mean, we saw him absolutely fragging out. One of the few Genoses that does run Luminary. Is this something that you look to do whether you're solo Genos, or is this something that you only pull out when you have another support to fall back on, like a Grover?
It depends. It really does depend. If you have a team that can scale really well with the damage buff, take it. Like Shaolin, getting him to bump up his damage like way up there means a lot.
So we saw the 3-0 closeout. Congratulations to the Renegades. We will see you guys tomorrow. You've got enough to deal with Fnatic as we are about to close out the day here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be starting again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 11 a.m. on this twitch.tv/Paladins game channel, along with a lot of other platforms, guys. You don't want to be anywhere other than right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.